Hey, what up YouTube, and welcome back to a new video with Rams Fan YT. In today's video, we will be going over my predictions for the upcoming championship season. As always, promises to be exciting, competitive, completely wild, and pretty much impossible to predict. So, not very good to try and predict the league, but sometimes you do have to try your hardest to complete impossible tasks. So, without further ado, I think we should get into the predictions. 24th, Plymouth Argyle. There's no hope that this team will stay up. Just like Wycombe a few seasons ago, they were promoted as underdogs, but have a League One standard squad. Hence why they will go straight back down. They also haven't brought in anyone anyway who is experienced at this level. And Steven Schumacher, although he's done well in the League One level, has never had experience even as a player at the Championship, so has no idea what he's getting in for. 23rd, I've got Stoke City. The amount of dead wood signed on big contracts is going to reap the inevitable whirlwind this season. I see the Potter squad a lot like the team at Sunderland who got relegated because of the big egos in the dressing room. I'm also surprised if they are on the positive side of FFP, so maybe a potential points deduction as well. Alex Neil is a manager who I don't think fits in at Stoke, as he tends to get the best out of teams with low expectations, and that is not the case with the Potters. 22nd, Cardiff City. They've been stagnating and looking over their shoulders for the last few seasons now, and if you look too much over your shoulder, then you end up going backwards. That is why Cardiff will be relegated. None of the signings breathe confidence and an aspiration to be competitive this season, and they are all brought in just to scrape survival. Aaron Ramsey is obviously a star signing, but that's something to keep the fans from moaning about the dismal performance, and I doubt he would even make 20 appearances this season. And see it like when Derby brought in Wayne Rooney. They spun loads of commercial rewards, but ultimately he was the worst player on the pitch, in my opinion. Furthermore, no one has ever heard of their manager, and I don't think he's even heard of half the teams in the Championship, so he won't help them stay up either. 21st, I've gone for Huddersfield Town. They've binned off at least half the squad and are still looking to offload more. Yes, they needed a clear out, but you normally expect some quality to replace that, but they've only brought in 2 players, and one of which is a loanee. The negativity will therefore still be at the club due to not injecting any positivity. The only reason they will stay up is because Neil Warnock is very experienced at this level, but it will be tight and he will have to pull out all the stocks to get the best out of this awful squad. 20th, Watford. This is definitely running contrary to many pundits, fans and common sense, but a reality check is needed. They were awful last season, and all the owners do is throw another manager into the bin. There's no plan about the long-term stability, and if they don't look good from the get-go, the owners may well lose interest. If you look at the signings they've made, they are mainly a bad standard or have rotted in this league for a while. Furthermore, their 2 best players, João Pedro and Ismaila Sarr, have both left. I actually look at the squad and I think they may have been decent in about 2017-18 time, but now they are too old and are all lower league players. Look at Valérien Ismaël. The last time he needed to manage a club with expectations in the former West Brom, he did such a woeful job, and I reckon that will probably be reciprocated with the Hornets. 19th, Ipswich Town. The Tractor Boys are back in the Championship after a decent spell in League One. But while they were down there, they have been building a very good squad, with the likes of Freddie Ladapo, Wes Burns, Nathan Broadhead, Connor Chaplin, Sonny Aluko, Sam Morsey, Amari Hutchinson and Carl Edwards, all Championship standard. There are definitely goals within this team, but I do worry a bit about the defence, hence why they will be involved in a bit of a scrap. But Kieran McKenna has become a bit of a quantity. Last season was a fluke for the club, where a weak Championship and a good degree of team unity collided to end up in the playoffs. And although I rate Mark Robins, I do think he will replicate the same performance. I don't think, he will replicate the same performance as last season. Especially since they've lost Guy Orquez and Josh Reed, and they look like they may well lose Gustavo Hamer to Sheffield United. Although ultimately losing the 2 best players in the team can be detrimental, and they will be flung down into a bit more of a scrap at the other end of the pitch this season, there will still be positives, and undoubtedly some of the new signings will come good in a few years' time once they adjusted to the rough and tumble of this league. 17th, Queen's Park Rangers. I'm still not convinced that Gareth Ainsworth is the right fit for the Hoops. It's undeniable he was a good manager with Wycombe, but look at someone like Nathan Jones with Luton. There are some managers who can only work with one club. I look at their dismal display last season and I can only see a few green shoots in Taylor Richards, Morgan Fox and Jack Colback. However, I think Begovic is a poor signing as he's definitely past it, and losing Rob Dickey, Luke Amos, Leon Balogun and Sonny Dieng are all contributing to a weakened squad. However, due to not being as poor as other teams, they'll be beyond scrap this season. 16th, Bristol City. They've become a bit of a mid-table side over the last few seasons. I also haven't been convinced of Nigel Pearson as a manager over the last few seasons. And though he is a Leicester City legend, I have doubts his style of play in the current 2020 Championship can still prove successful. Don't get me wrong, they will drag out results, but a very boring season, I'll say, from the Robins. 15th, Rotherham United. A club a lot of people have tipped for relegation, but I actually see the semblance of a decent mid-table side. Victor Johansson is a good keeper at Championship level. Sean Morrison, likewise, is a safe option as centre-back with his bulky 6'4" stature, who dominates the air and also possesses a decent long throw. Tom Eaves and Jordan Hugo at the other end of the pitch provide plenty of firepower, as shown during previous incarnations at this level. So I look around the team and I see that a team that could feasibly finish in mid-table. Matt Taylor was certainly very good in League Two with Exeter City. However, I don't think he'll be winning any league titles in the Championship. And Rotherham don't expect him to probably as well. 14th, Birmingham City. John Eustace has actually been proven as a masterstroke appointment amid behind-the-scenes issues and the bookies almost guaranteeing the Blues to be relegated. He managed to steer them last season to a decent 17th position last season. They also haven't lost any quality and brought in some very decent players. Tyler Roberts has always impressed me at this level, and Christian Bielik, the Polish international, has some of the best work for a defensive midfielder on his day. So if he can stay fit, he will have a great season. Sariki Dembele is a very pacey winger, showing his full attributes with Peterborough a couple of seasons back. Dion Sanderson has been brought back after his impressive loan season last time, and Keshi Anderson has impressed me for many years and will certainly contribute to the goal drought they've experienced under the last season. And Lee Buchanan is a player I will always hold dear from his time at Derby, with his wicked wand of a left foot who can play as an adept wing-back, delivering in great crosses. They've also not lost many players, so ultimately this team on paper should definitely be mid-table, if not higher. 13th, I have gone with Southampton. Although many tip the Saints for an instant return to the Premier League, we do need a bit of a reality check. They only accumulated 25 points last season and shipped 73 goals. They've also lost their star players in Diallo, Livramento and Salisu. It also looks like Kyle Walker-Peters and James Ward-Prowse are almost certainly going to leave. And allow me to chuckle to think, to solve the goals conceded, they've brought in the worst goalkeeper in the Championship with Joe Lumley. And other than Ryan Manning, I don't even know who their other signings are. Russell Martin is overrated as well as manager. He knows how to keep the ball, but he doesn't know how to convert that possession that his teams have into any goals. For 12th place, I have gone with Norwich City. What a bizarre transfer window, even for Norwich's standard. Normally, the international market has proved fruitful, but Atlanta's reserve team's goalkeeper, Gerson-Spor, sounds more like and then there's a signing from Gerson-Spor, who sounds more like a tanning salon than a club to sign a player from. Bromley is in non-league, so I don't even know how Kellen Fisher will adapt. Young boys, enough said for the name of a club, really. And the rest are decent, but that's in the form of old-timers and Ashley Barnes, Shane Duffy and Jack Stacey. The biggest loss to the squad is definitely Timu Pukki, who is like that only player who can score goals regularly at this level. They definitely won't score enough goals, and the team is beginning to look more mid-table Championship than a team who is looking for promotion. That's before I even get onto the appointment of Wagner, who they've plucked out of obscurity. And I know he got Huddersfield promoted, but there were different circumstances that season, including one of the worst Championship seasons in a while. 11th, I go with Leeds United. I know they finally decided to make relegation interesting come the end of the season, but Leeds fans have some deluded sense of grandeur and treating Bielsa like a god, and anyone who isn't him will be hounded out of the door at the first signs of things going wrong. This creates a toxic atmosphere with such a personality cult towards manager whose style of play has been well and truly debunked. They'll persist to try to outscore the opposition, but with who? Bamford? Harrison? Rutter? All prove how limited their goal scoring prowess actually is by relying on injury-prone players who haven't been at it really for a couple of seasons now. Last season, they conceded 78 goals, which was the most in the Premier League. And yes, Ethan Ampadu and Carl Darlow are decent improvements to try and reduce that. But I would argue that the Championship is a very high-intensity league, and this, especially this season, and they've come undone many times, hence the mid-table season's finish. Although, if they keep the faith with Farke and not hound him out, then maybe the season afterwards they could be promoted. 10th, Hull City. I was a bit annoyed that Rossini left Derby, as I rated him quite highly as a manager, contrary to some Derby fans. He's building a squad which will be competitive in Championship, maybe even towards the playoffs. He has the players that can play out from the back, so will know how to succeed at this league, which can come by implementing his style of play well. 9th, Swansea City. Michael Duff is undeniably a risk for where Swansea want to finish. However, he's never had a club with a win percentage below 40% when he's left them, and I think he can adapt to the league as he's shown his adaptability by going from League One to League One like a duck, or should I say, swan to water. He's also not afraid to tactically change the formation if things are going against him, which I love to see as a manager. Jerry Yates may be the final part of a jigsaw to be challenging for the playoffs. However, they have lost Obafemi. Means it's a pretty much like-for-like swap, actually, which will probably end up in the same position as last season. 8th, West Bromwich Albion. Carlos Corberán is a reliable and successful manager in the Championship. I look at the baggies. He had a win percentage of 48.57%, and will keep West Brom in contention for the playoffs this season also. However, the lack of incoming signings will mean that they won't reach the playoffs this season. 7th, Millwall. Gary Rowett is a decent manager at this level of football, who gets his team challenging for promotion, although it could seem very boring with his team often winning by a slender goal advantage. This is shown by his impressive defensive acquisitions of Joe Bryan, Wes Harding, and Matija Sarkic. They've also supplemented Duncan Watmore by adding Kevin Nisbet to share the goal load. The only player they've lost of concern that I think has been to their detriment, really, is Scott Malone, who did actually have he occasionally had an absolute blinder of a goal strike from 40 yards out and was also quite good at whipping them crosses. So overall, they will only just evade the playoffs, really. 6th, Sheffield Wednesday. A club with a huge and passionate fan base, and we saw that with Sunderland last season, how much that could carry a team to success. They've done some decent business, like Reece James, who provided a great deal of crosses, and Anthony Musaba, who is a player picked from obscurity but does look like a real baller. Zisco is also a very good manager at this level, helping Watford get promoted, and also seems to manage to manage to find a way to keep the team away from relegation, but also get sacked like Watford managers do. 5th, Preston North End. Let's not sleep on Ryan Lowe, whose attacking style of football suits the Championship football down to a T. The strategy he has is to outscore the opponents, and much like Bielsa, this high-risk gung-ho strategy can have high rewards, especially seeing they've always been defensively sound as a club. And the signings of Mads Frotjar Jensen, I don't know if I've got that name right, Dwayne Holmes, Will Keane and Leighton Stewart, along with the players of Emil Reese, Brad Potts and Ben Woodburn already at the club, they will certainly score more goals this season, propelling them to the playoffs. 4th, Blackburn Rovers. Setting up a tasty Lancashire derby in the playoff semi-finals, I've got Blackburn. They may have lost their goal scorer in Brereton Diaz and shot stopper Kaminski, but Leopold Waldstedt, from what I've heard, admittedly I've not watched much of the Norwegian football, is a very decent keeper, and he must have been to appeared for Sweden's national team. Niall Ennis comes in after scoring 13 goals last season, so he may be able to fill in the void for Brereton Diaz, especially if a second striker is signed to help chip in as well. Mind you, Sam Gallagher is still at the club, and he's always been a good option up front. John Dole Thomason is a passionate believer that good training results in good performances on the pitch, and a philosophy that I do actually agree with a lot. And his tactical nous will be enough to get Blackburn a playoff spot. Third, Sunderland. Arguably the biggest club in the Championship, regularly attracting over 40,000 fans, it is definitely a big pull and recruitment factor. Joe Bellingham seems every bit as talented as his brother. Luis Semedo is a Portuguese under-20s international, and Bradley Dack, although a bit injury-prone, is, when fit, one of the best attacking midfielders in the league. And Nathan Bishop is actually a good shot stopper, despite the clumsy tackle against Mullins in pre-season, which he got absolutely roasted for seems a solid week by the media for. Ultimately, the inability to tie Sims down to a permanent contract after his win them due to a large and intimidating crowd. Second, Middlesbrough. I don't think any of the players who have left have been a considerable loss to the club, and Sonny Dieng is definitely an improvement on Lumley in goal. Michael Carrick is already proving his worth as a manager, and unlike Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard or any other young big name learning their trade, he is stuck with the club and will reap the rewards with a promotion on his CV. First, Leicester City. I'm sorry, but this club is Premier League standard. They still have Jamie Vardy, James Justin, Connor Cody, Timothy Castagne, Harry Winks, Mark Albrighton, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, Wilfred Ndidi, and Kelechi Iheanacho have a club, and that is only to name a few. I know a few of those are new signings, but they are Premier League quality. Yes, they need to replace Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tillemans, Kaglas Suwinsu, Ioso Perez, Johnny Evans, and James Madison, with most of them being midfielders, so they do need more than Harry Winks to fill that void. But the main concern I have still is the goalkeeper department, especially since the loss of Kasper Schmeichel. Mads Hermansen, I know nothing about, so I'm still to be drawn on whether he's actually going to even be the starting goalkeeper. But ultimately, a club at their size will attract a decent keeper and will absolutely boss the league. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you're new, please do subscribe. That will be hugely appreciated. We'll do the Premier League predictions tomorrow. And I'll see you there, Ivan. Thanks for the thumbs up. But goodbye for now.